Keep it at Fox FM and we'll keep you up to date. Silverstone, all public car parks closed today. The police will turn you back, and Silverstone say hang on to your Saturday tickets and they will sort out refunds.
And this is Silverstone. Saturated, chilly and totally uninviting. That's the scenario for the qualifying hour. You want to know why they've closed the car parks today? Look no further. The Grand Prix is the biggest single sporting event in the British calendar. We normally come here in mid-July, a time for barbecues, camping and t-shirts. But today, in what must be a virtually unprecedented act, the organisers are begging the public to stay away. So why are we here? No one is willing to take responsibility for switching the dates. The reasons have been lost in a cloud of Formula One mumbo-jumbo. It's the fans who are suffering. What an irony. Next door to the quickest cars in the world, just shifting your vehicle is a huge achievement. Visiting the Grand Prix this weekend is a big test of character. First of all, you've got to get past those police roadblocks.
We have got parking, yeah. I'm just going to drop them off and then come back out.
That's great, no problem.
Round back, mate.
Yeah, enjoy. It's the best mode of transport.
Have a nice one. Maybe stay and drive.
But the fans who have got by those roadblocks, well, they just seem happy to be here. They've come by bus and many have walked a long way on foot.
We got ripped off. Got ripped off for the cab. £15 for about
3 minutes.
90 seconds in the cab.
About a mile.
That's right.
7 miles.
7 miles?
From Brackley.
Really? How long has that taken you?
2 hours and about 10 minutes.
Not worth a dollar, mate. Wash out.
We don't have a say in when the date is. The date's fixed on an international calendar, and you have the choice of this. We have the choice of this weekend or no race, so there's not much of a choice.
We've squeezed this year in the United States Grand Prix, so the calendar was a bit of a muck-up, to be quite honest with you. And I'd scheduled the French Grand Prix to be on this date, so we were going to be at our normal date, and France was going to be on this date. And then there was a bit of internal politics going on, and the French won, basically. That's what happened. So we're suffering.
And so are we, Bernie. So the French won the political game. We are assured this will never happen again. And the British Grand Prix will take place in mid-July next year. Have a word with James Allen with all the ladies from down there. James.
Jim, it's terrifically exciting down here. You can see just behind me here, Ron Dennis and Steve Hallam from the McLaren team. They're in deep discussion about the tactics here. Everybody's wondering exactly what's going to happen here. The track is obviously going to dry out, but I've been talking to a few of the teams. They're saying that there are showers in the air. Let me just show you what the track is actually like at the moment. Come down here, you can see there's quite a lot of moisture on the surface, so you would expect them maybe to start out with the wet tyres, because Silverstone, the water does stay on the track, but obviously they'll be putting the dries on and going for runs. It's the last 15 minutes here of this hour that's going to be critically exciting and very, very good fun indeed. Look forward to it.
Indeed we do, and well, we will be watching Jenson Button very closely indeed, and Michael Schumacher, who's been complaining about the conditions here, but it still has been going very well. Schumacher has won all 3 races so far, but not been on pole as yet. Okay, it's time for the qualifying. We will be hearing from Nigel Mansell throughout the session. No one really knows how it's all going to pan out on the Silverstone skid pan. Here's Martin and Murray.
Well, the good news is that you can see there the 2 orange arrows lined up, and they are going straight out onto the track because, as you rightly pointed out, the weather conditions are very iffy this afternoon. It's drying, and it has been dry for some time, but there's this massive storm cloud overhead, and it could dump its contents on Silverstone. And we know that if that happens and everybody hasn't got a banker lap in, we could have a very strange grid.
Yes, the drivers have really had to prepare for this session all through the free practice, because on this kind of track, you can see it's 75% dry really. They do not need a full new set of wets, so they've been scrubbing them down, getting some rubber off of them, otherwise they'll overheat too quickly for conditions such as these. And also the smart ones have got 1 or 2 sets of those scrubbed down wets put away for the race as well. At 12:56 today, this was declared a wet track. May seem a bit silly to you. What that means is cars are allowed out of the pit lane with the groove tyres, and not one of their marked up sets of slicks. They do not want cars going out there on a dry day using wet tyres as a way of shaking down the car or finding the conditions out or whatever. No problem today. It is a wet track, therefore, and necessarily they are on the softer of the wet tyres.
And Jos Verstappen is the man you're watching at the moment, and he is a man to watch because the Dutchman back in Grand Prix racing this year after having had a sabbatical last year, having driven for Stewart and Benetton and Arrows in the past, is really on the pace. He was 8th fastest this morning in the Arrows Supertech, and this could be a very bright move to get in a quick lap straight away. So into Copse, the fast right-hander, which leads on to one of the most daunting combinations of corners in Formula One at Beckett's. And it is left, right, and then left and down the hanger straight to Stowe Corner, which of course is where Michael Schumacher went off when the race started last year. So Jos Verstappen keeping away from the wet stuff. The light grey tarmac, of course, is dry. Down into Stowe Corner, which he takes at about 105 miles an hour. Bit of a dip into the Vale, which is the approach to the left, and the long, long right at Club. Now he's coming into the left now. That's a second gear corner at about 55 miles an hour on the apex. Round Club, looks as though he lost a bit of time there.
Yes, as so often happens as you pop over the crest of Vale, you brake late and the back end starts to get away from you, especially as you're trying to make several downshifts. But Verstappen turning into the slide and quickly getting back on the throttle. Now Hakkinen, in slightly wetter conditions than this morning, was fastest on a 1:33.1. I would have thought they can go quicker on these track conditions this afternoon, but it is a bit curious sometimes. Often you can go faster with a more wet track on wet tyres than these kind of half wet, half dry, greasy conditions, but nonetheless there does look to be some areas out there where they can get some pretty solid traction and move forwards.
Well, Jos Verstappen did a 34.78 this morning, so he is, well, look at that, to within a tenth of a second, exactly the same time as he did this morning. Of course he's first at the moment because he's the only one to have done a full lap. His teammate De La Rosa is behind him, second. Now, there's a lot of other people on the track behind these two. Marc Genet is out in the Minardi. His teammate Mazzacane. Rubens Barrichello is out in the Ferrari. That's significant. So is Jenson Button, who had a lot of trouble this morning. Pedro Diniz, the Saubers are going extremely well here. And Ricardo Zonta. They're the men who are out on the track. But look at Rubens Barrichello, who I would expect to be going through into provisional pole position at the end of this lap. But he does not do so. He's slower than Verstappen, he's slower than De La Rosa, he's third fastest, and there are still 55.5 minutes to go in this 60-minute qualifying session. Ferrari are pretty happy. They say we've got the best man in the wet and the dry. That's Michael Schumacher.
In practice here last week during testing, the Arrows were sensationally fast, but again that was in dry conditions. But they seem to work well on this kind of racetrack. They work well in Barcelona too, with long fast corners followed by a decent straight.
Yeah, they've got Egbel Hamadi, who is doing their aerodynamics, having left the Stewart team, and he and his colleagues have produced a very, very tidy motor car. They've got the Supertech engine. Now, we've now got 55 minutes left. 7 people have put up a time. Jenson Button is 7th quickest at the present moment, and his time compares with 1:41.8 this morning. He's 2.5 seconds faster this afternoon than he was this morning, and as you can see, Pedro De La Rosa has moved up ahead of his teammate.
I think Jenson had quite a fright this morning. He was looking down in his cockpit when trying to sort something out, having gone off the road. He thought he could get back out of the gravel trap, only to feel a thump and look up and see Eddie Irvine's Jaguar slicing down the side of him, and I think it gave him quite a fright, actually.
Now, I was expecting Barrichello to go fastest, and he has done so. 1:32.6, 1/10 of a second faster than Pedro De La Rosa. Now, Barrichello is driving, or about to drive, in his 4th race for Ferrari. He has achieved the ambition of every racing driver, and certainly every Brazilian who is keen on racing. He's following the great Ayrton Senna, who never drove for Ferrari, and Rubens Barrichello is mighty proud of it. Now, how does his first split compare with the previous one? Well, he's down, so he's coming in. He's done 4 laps. As ever, there are 12 timed laps that each of the drivers is allowed to do. The fastest counts for his position on the grid, and at the present moment, it's Barrichello, De La Rosa, Marc Genet in the Minardi, Jos Verstappen. That's an excellent lap by Marc Genet, incidentally, who went very well in the unpleasant conditions yesterday, was 10th fastest for Minardi.
Well, the King of Spain is actually here at the circuit, and he'll be very happy to see De La Rosa 2nd, Genet 3rd at the moment, his 2 Spanish drivers.
Anything to do with you taking him round in the 2-seater at Barcelona?
He's a bit of a Formula 1 fan, actually, yes, and he's come over for a couple of days just purely to watch the Formula 1, so big fan over there in Spain. But Barrichello, this is his 117th Grand Prix, he's just 27 years old. But it's probably a bit cynical of me, but I still can't help feeling that he's out there more often than not, or from time to time at least, doing some investigative work that helps Michael Schumacher's car.
Well, that's usually the case with the second driver in the Ferrari team. Now, Ralf Schumacher has not been out yet, and he went extremely well in the Williams BMW this morning. He was 5th fastest with only the 2 Ferraris and the 2 McLarens ahead of him. And he is sitting in the garage. So is David Coulthard, so is Michael Schumacher, both the Jaguar drivers. Eddie Irvine had a problem. You heard from Martin, he went off this morning, and Johnny Herbert was only 18th fastest. Jaguar are very much hoping that they get more up to qualifying and race pace this weekend. But the Saubers are going extremely well. You're looking at Pedro Diniz in his new style livery on his crash helmet, celebrating 500 years of Brazil.
Well, the computer timing screen today is going to look like one of those lottery machines they use, where everything's just tumbling around, because almost every lap for every car is going to be faster as they find the limit. And you know, you have to know where the grip is. The grip is so difficult to read. Turning into a corner like you're looking at there now with Zonta, to know before you get there how much grip there's going to be. You've got to maximise that. You've got to put the car on the edge, but make one mistake, you're in the gravel trap, and somehow you're rushing back to get in the spare car. It is a fine call to make.
We've had one really quick man complete a time, Rubens Barrichello, and now as you watch Gary Anderson, and sitting in the car there, the reigning world champion Mika Hakkinen, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Jordan is out, and he was fastest of all yesterday. And here he is, Frentzen from Germany, a double Grand Prix winner last year. He won one for Williams when he was with the team. And the Jordan team have got their headquarters and their factory just outside the gates at Silverstone. Frentzen is a very, very happy man. His wife's just had their first baby. He's on top of the world, and if he can qualify well here, and he's going well at the moment because he's 0.2 of a second inside Barrichello's fastest time for that first split, as he makes his way onto the second split, which is after Club Corner and Abbey.
Yes, and he's run wide. You can see he lost the back end of the car on the way in, just over the top of Vale, and that's cost Frentzen very, very dearly. Trashed the lap, of course, but he lives for another day.
Great pity for him, because he was actually fastest in the first split, and I can see thundering up to Abbey behind him, Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW. There he is, followed by Jarno Trulli in the second yellow Jordan. Frentzen, of course, has picked up the pace immediately, but well, his second split's not at all bad, but Ralf Schumacher is on a real quick one. Ralf Schumacher's just done the fastest second split of all. There he is, coming up behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and I prophesy that Schumacher is going to go certainly into the first 3, probably second. I don't think he'll beat Barrichello. Just under 50 minutes to go, and sure enough, Ralf Schumacher is fastest. 1 minute 31.755, a terrific lap. 0.4 of a second faster than Jarno Trulli, and 9/10 of a second faster than Barrichello.
And look at Patrick Head and Gerhard Berger jumping up and down with excitement at their provisional pole position.
Gerhard, the motorsport director of BMW, and BMW have done fantastically well with this new engine of theirs. They've come into Grand Prix racing for the first time since 1983, when they won the World Championship with Nelson Piquet and their turbo engine. And Ralf Schumacher was third with the first BMW drive in Australia. Johnny Herbert.
Yes, coming through Priory now into Brooklands. Look, if you can stay pretty much on line, and the line is not that much wider than the track of a Formula One car, there is some grip to be had, as you could see from Johnny's car, though he was struggling to apply the power. Now Frentzen is on another flying lap. Ralf Schumacher too, still in that provisional pole position. Frentzen has a chance to, well, he's 4/10 down in the middle section. Now the tyres are going to get warmer. They may be better off. I think they could well overheat these soft wets today. They may be better off. You can see they're struggling to get any kind of traction. They may be better off doing one fast lap, cooling it a little bit, trying to find a bit of dampness down one of the straights, and then going again.
Nevertheless, I think Frentzen is going to do it, and he has done it. First of all, it was Ralf Schumacher in pole position. I'm talking about the really quick times. Ralf Schumacher, and now it is Heinz-Harald Frentzen, Eddie Jordan and Ian Phillips in the Jordan position on the pit lane. News from James Allen.
Yeah, Martin, it's not actually soft wets they're using. These guys are out on the slicks already. It's amazing. They've gone straight for it. Frentzen went out on the slicks, and Häkkinen's just gone out too. Now, it seems to me that everybody is using the harder of the two Bridgestone compounds. They come always to the races with a hard and a soft compound tire. The reason for that is because it likes the lower temperatures better. That's what certainly the front runners are all using. Rubens Barrichello did that 5-lap run using the harder dry tyres. So there's an awful lot more to come, as you were saying, Martin, as the track dries up and as the cars get faster. The drying line all the time, every time, getting faster and faster. It's going to be fantastic.
Thanks for that, James. Michael Schumacher is on the track, on his out. Now he's on his quick lap. It's not quick enough at the present moment. He's into the second sector as we ride with Johnny Herbert in the Jaguar with the Cosworth engine coming through out of Woodcote to complete the lap. And this is Herbert's first really quick lap. And it takes him into 8th position, 2.3 seconds off the pace. 46 minutes to go. Frentzen, Ralf Schumacher, Jarno Trulli. So it is Jordan, Williams, Jordan looking very good at the present moment.
Johnny Herbert on board now, coming through the exit of Beckett's, and a long hanger straight under the bridge. Bring the car up to the left, be completely on the left before you start braking in a straight line, and then take a wide line in. Apex very late, because the curb on the left-hand side will surprise you. Now you're going to pop over the little crest of Vale. Look how wet and damp it is in there now. So slowing down, a big drama. That's where Frentzen ran wide, and you have to be oh so patient on the throttle. And all of a sudden you can just feel the grip through your hands, through your backside. You're so tight in that car, you're part of it, and you know exactly when to press the throttle. Braking late and deep there, quite nicely for Johnny Herbert into the Abbey chicane. A tremendous traction always out of that chicane. Through bridge, there's always a bit of a damp patch underneath the bridge itself, and then prior in, just be smooth with the car through there. Throttle brakes, don't do too much of anything, and slow down very much for Brooklands. And that's where they're all struggling to get the power down. Well spotted on the tyres, James.
Mika Häkkinen crosses the line, and he is in 4th position at the present moment. There's the confirmation, 9/10 of a second off, and Michael Schumacher is about to go fastest. I do believe he's done the fastest second sector of all. He was faster than he had been in the first sector, and Michael Schumacher revels in this sort of going on the track. Part wet, part dry, out of Woodcote, over the line, completes the lap, and Michael Schumacher is third fastest, 5/100ths of a second slower than Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and 8/1000ths of a second slower than his brother. What do you think of it, Nigel?
The most sensible thing is that Häkkinen and Schumacher have put the banker in. Now on this next lap they should put the fast one together, but the track's drying all the time. Very important to stay out there if you can.
Indeed, and that's exactly what Mika Häkkinen is doing. And just to prove your point, Nigel, Mika's gone faster in the first sector than anybody else has been so far this afternoon.
But just to remind everybody, despite the changing conditions, they're still limited to just 12 laps today, including the ins and out laps. So I'm sure they would love to stay out all through the session. As Nigel says, it's going to get faster and faster. It's going to be the last man over the line if we have no more rain today, as we saw in Austria a couple of years back. Häkkinen on a storming lap. This will surely take him right to the front. It does on a 29.6, but they still have to keep some laps in the bag for later on in the session.
Well, it's already a second faster than the first really quick lap we had. Ralf Schumacher went round in 31.5, then Frentzen was a whisker quicker. Now Mika Häkkinen's gone that massive amount quicker, which is an indication of the fact not only that he's a thumping good driver in a cracking motor car, but that the track is getting drier. Mika Häkkinen then 1:29.6, and Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR Honda goes second fastest ahead of Frentzen with 43.5 minutes to go. And the real excitement in this qualifying session is not going to come, I agree with everybody, until the last 5 minutes. David Coulthard, the race winner in the past at Silverstone, watched by Norbert Haug from Mercedes-Benz. And David went off at on the run down to Stowe yesterday. You're looking incidentally now at Jacques Villeneuve coming in after that cracking lap of his. And David Coulthard has now made it 2 McLarens on the front row, but 1.5 seconds slower than Mika Häkkinen. And Jacques Villeneuve, the man you're looking at now, is the fastest man on the track as I talk to you. And that will be thanks not only to his skill at... Oh!
Well, how Jack, he actually struck a bit of brake pedal in there just at a crucial moment, brought the front end back. Remember, about 60% of the energy goes into the front brakes, used it beautifully and brought the front end around just as it looks like he may lose the car, and you hit the wall very, very hard there, but of course it ruined what was looking like a very good lap.
Talk that McLaren are talking to Jacques Villeneuve about next season, very much a rumour. Now, there's experience for you. Jacques Villeneuve immediately comes in. He'd actually done the fastest first sector of all, was on a really, really good lap, but he knew he'd lost too much time for it to move him up in the order, and so he's just come in to see about things. Now, this is Giancarlo Fisichella, who had a lot of trouble yesterday, but was 6th fastest this morning in the Benetton.
Yes, Fisichella, of course, second in Brazil, hopelessly outpaced in Imola, and we haven't really seen that much of him so far this weekend. He is 9th at the moment, but some 2.3 seconds off the pace. Jarno Trulli is 10th, but on a very, very hot lap. I'm sure we'll pick him up shortly as he heads towards the line.
18.5 minutes gone, 41.5 minutes to go. Mika Häkkinen is fastest, David Coulthard is 2nd, Jacques Villeneuve is 3rd, Frentzen is 4th, Ralf Schumacher is 5th, Michael Schumacher is 6th, and Jarno Trulli is about to go into pole position, is he? 2nd, Jarno Trulli from Italy, his first year in the Jordan with the Mugen Honda engine, 0.2 of a second slower than Mika Häkkinen. So, Häkkinen, Trulli and Coulthard join us soon. 38.5 minutes to go. Häkkinen is still fastest. David Coulthard is in 4th position. Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar is in 9th place. His teammate Johnny Herbert is in 13th position. Jenson Button in the Williams has yet to qualify. He's only done 3 laps, but Rubens Barrichello that you're looking at, with the sun now shining on the circuit, you can see the car's shadow, the track is drying out, is, I think, about to head up the field because conditions are getting better and better. Has he beaten Häkkinen's time? Yes, he has, by a handsome nearly 0.6 of a second. 1:29.007, so he's the 4th really quick man that we have had heading the field this afternoon in the 22 minutes that the session has been running, and it's going to get better still.
Absolutely. So Barrichello launched up 14 places then, and that's the kind of action I think you're going to see, because it's a question of who's on the track at any time. Alesi is now into the race in 10th place. It would, if he makes this start, it'll equal him with Niki Lauda for 171 career starts in Formula 1. So the only driver not yet in the field is Jenson Button. Had 3 laps, his car was damaged this morning, and he's certainly had very, very little track time through the day. His 1 minute 38.1 is obviously not representative of his potential around here, but at the moment he's not in the race.
No, he's having quite a hard apprenticeship now. He had that superb 6th position at Brazil, but let's concentrate on Rubens Barrichello, who's half a second faster than he had been before. So you can, if you look at the track, you see it's getting greyer and greyer, that is to say drier and drier, and that means to say quicker and quicker. So Rubens Barrichello, 1:29.077, his fastest time, and he's going to handsomely beat it. Is he going to be the first ever pole position for him in a Ferrari?
Well, a fast time here in dry conditions on slicks that they're now running would be something around a 1:24, late 1 minute 24. So at the moment they're about 4 seconds slower due to the damp patches. Louise, what can you tell us?
I'm just watching the proceedings in the Jaguar garage at the moment, Martin. Johnny Herbert having a bit of work done to his car. Irvine's in the garage as well. Just 2 cars available for the Jaguar drivers this afternoon. Eddie Irvine had that accident this morning. He actually cracked the tub, which is the safety cell that the drivers sit in. The team haven't been able to replace it, but they were able to call back to Milton Keynes, their factory not far away, get a new tub sent down. Now that's in the garage and being built up at the moment, but as I say, just the 2 cars available. The spare car isn't going to be finished before the end of the session. So any problems with the cars this afternoon, they're going to have to start sharing.
Yes, and this replacing a tub can be an enormous job depending on how much pre-wiring is in and all the hydraulics and all the systems. Sometimes the teams have them built up and ready to go. Just a question of throwing the engine and gearbox and suspension on. But if that's a raw tub, then the Jaguar mechanics have got a late night ahead of them, and they're certainly having a traumatic start to their Formula 1 career, are the Jaguar team, Murray?
They are indeed. Martin, harking back to something you were saying earlier on about Barrichello and Michael Schumacher, I wonder if it's significant, with 35 minutes gone and 25 minutes left, that Rubens Barrichello, fastest, has done 8 laps, most of his allotment. Michael Schumacher, down in 10th place, has only done 4 laps. Maybe they're using Barrichello not as a stalking horse, but as a yardstick for Michael Schumacher to come out and put up a really quick one in the end.
I wonder what Nigel thinks of that.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, he's saving the one quick time, but they've only got, what now, 34 minutes to run to the end. I think the last 15 minutes of this practice is going to be absolutely crucial, just to time it right, because if it doesn't rain now, the last lap of this practice will be the quickest.
I don't think it is. Well, if I say it's not going to rain, it will. But I'm looking out through the commentary box window, Nigel, and there's a lot of heavy cloud overhead. But hopefully it's not going to break and deposit its contents on the circuit.
Yeah, I think the thing is Barrichello there might be testing a few little settings that they'll be putting onto Michael's car now. But I mean, what a session! Has the session stopped, Murray?
No. They've just come in for a breather and talk to the engineers, like you used to do, Nigel. And Jean Todt there, looking at the monitor. We look at the new grandstand at Silverstone.
I think there's not too many people in the seats today because of the warnings of the problems they got with the car parks as they prepare them to make sure everybody can come in and enjoy the Grand Prix tomorrow. So there's a lot of work being done in the car parks here to put up with the rain that's fallen over the last 15-16 days. I think everybody's so surprised to see the sunshine, Mary. They've all gone in and said, what's going on here? It's a bit bright out there.
It is grimly ironic that the conditions with the car parks closed are actually on the track better than they have been yesterday and Thursday. They weren't out on the track on Thursday, of course. But James Allen in the pits has got some more news for us.
Yeah, just picking up on something Nigel just said a second ago about Rubens trying out settings for Michael. It's true that they are definitely hardening the settings on this car as the track conditions get drier and drier. Obviously, they started out with something of a compromise, expecting it to be quite wet. And certainly they're stiffening up the front anti-roll bar, the suspension. They're beginning to take off wing on the cars as well. That's definitely the case. Just caught a quick word with them up at Williams to see what's going on with Button. Apparently it's because they had to rebuild 2 corners of his car after his incident this morning. He just went out to just do a bit of a check over those 3 laps, and he's going to go out at about past.
Well, now, thanks for that, James. Michael Schumacher may be the Regenmeister, the rain master, as he undoubtedly is. But if there's a pole master, it is Mika Häkkinen. He's been in pole position for all 3 races this year. Last year he was in pole position 11 times from the 16 races. He's had 24 of them in his career. You can never underestimate him. You're watching Mazzacane now, incidentally, driving for the first time at Silverstone as we go for a break. Back at Silverstone, just over half the 60-minute session gone, just under half the 60-minute session left. Incidentally, the news and On the Ball will be on when the qualifying session here has finished. As you look at Pedro Diniz from Brazil in the Sauber, who actually has gone faster than his much more experienced teammate Mika Salo so far. But at the present moment, as you can see, he's nearly 1.5 seconds off the pace. Pedro Diniz is 4th fastest, nevertheless, which is a very considerable achievement with 29 minutes to go. It's Rubens Barrichello still fastest, Hakkinen second, 1 second slower than the Ferrari, and then Trulli, who is 1.3 seconds to the nearest 10th, slower than the Ferrari. Jenson Button out on the track to qualify. This is his 6th lap, and he hasn't had any fast laps here yesterday or this morning because of various problems, one of which was going off today and then being hit by Eddie Irvine's Jaguar.
I think this is the one place where Jenson fancies his chances this year. Obviously, he does know the track, and he has done a lot of testing here in the Williams BMW, so he'll be very disappointed, I think, if he doesn't get a good shot at being somewhere near the top 10 today. This is the one where he has the best chance, I think. All of the other circuits, really, he's going to be learning. Barcelona, of course, he's done some testing there, but later on in the year, places like Monaco, Suzuka, it's going to be quite a climb for him.
Yes, we haven't mentioned very much the fact that Silverstone this year is not entirely new to them this weekend, because they were here most of last week testing in both wet and dry conditions. So even though it hasn't been dry so far this weekend for any length of time, they've had plenty of experience from the past to get the cars set up.
This is going to put him somewhere 5th or 6th, I think, if he gets a good run, good clean run now through Luffield. And all he's got to do now is squeeze the throttle, sit back and enjoy the grandstands racing past him as he heads over the line. And where does he go? He goes 3rd.
3rd? Well, now that is incredible, because he's only got Hakkinen and Barrichello in front of him. Behind him, he's got Jarno Trulli, Pedro Diniz. Marc Genet goes up into 3rd position in the Minardi. So, without wishing to be unkind to either Genet or the Minardi, because Genet is much better than we thought he was going to be, and this year's Minardi is actually a very nice motor car. It's not as quick as the McLarens and the Jordans and the Williams and the Ferraris, of course. Genet in 3rd position, an excellent drive. There he is.
But remember, a Formula 1 car has got far more horsepower than it has grip, and on a drying track like this, it just makes a huge difference as soon as you can start jumping on that loud pedal a little bit early. You've got such a fantastic power to weight ratio, and that's why the times will tumble, as we've explained before. And as I say, it's the man who starts, the one who can time his last lap to start 3 or 4 seconds before the checkered flag drops is the one who's most likely to be on pole. But that's assuming he doesn't get traffic, of course, or make an error.
Well, if I was Marc Genet, I would be out of the car and get my box brownie and take a picture of the monitor, because he's in 3rd fastest position at the moment, with only 26 minutes left to go. Jenson Button crosses the line and he moves up into 2nd place from 3rd to 2nd. Now, well, this is absolutely terrific, because we've just got 25 minutes to go. Button only did 4 laps at Silverstone this morning and a few laps yesterday. He's on his 8th lap now. He's still got a run left after this one. He's 0.6 of a second slower than Barrichello. James, news.
Just to put the cat amongst the pigeons a bit, Murray, apparently the McLaren weatherman has just told the 2 engineers they're expecting rain between 2:45 and on the hour, and that's what Mika's engineer has just told Mika. So everybody's working to different formulas, everybody's wondering when it's going to rain, and Jenson Button, if everybody gets it wrong, could well stay quite well up the grid, I think.
And what a sensation that would be. 25 minutes to go. If they're right, we're going to have rain in about 10 minutes' time, so we can expect people to be out. And look at this, just look at this. This is the sky overhead at Silverstone. Dark clouds to the left, and they're moving more and more to the right and over Silverstone as Jos Verstappen goes out in the arrows to try and improve on his 10th. De La Rosa, I'm sorry, to try and improve on his position.
De La Rosa currently 22nd, but having done the fastest first sector of any driver this afternoon, and I think he messed up that middle section. We saw him running wide. What do you think, Nigel?
Murray, well, listening to Murray, Martin, he's got my adrenaline going more than I ever did when I was driving the car. I mean, wasn't it fantastic for Williams then and Button? But if they do get it wrong, I think they've got about a window of 10 minutes. I think you'll find Ferrari and the McLaren team going out now shortly, Martin.
I tend to agree with you. I think there's a lot of action yet. I mean, you've got Michael Schumacher down in 15th place, but he will not be sitting in the pits all stressed out and worried about it. There's the real action is yet to come.
Okay, now let's just see what the position is at the present moment. We've got 24 minutes to go. Barrichello is fastest by 0.6 of a second from Jenson Button, second. Hakkinen is third, quickest, a second off the pace. Marc Genet is fourth. Trulli is fifth. Zonta is sixth. Pedro Diniz is seventh, and Jean Alesi is eighth. Heidfeld is 9th and Jos Verstappen is 10th. Now, and David Coulthard is down in 11th position. Frentzen is 13th. Ralf Schumacher is 14th. Michael Schumacher is 15th. There's a lot of very unusual placings there, and that's one of them. Michael Schumacher. That is Ricardo Zonta. He's in 6th position at the present moment in the BAR Honda. So if that rain comes, I'm thinking of strange races we had like Magny-Cours at France last year, where we had a very weird grid because of the weather conditions, and an even weirder race because of the weather conditions. People talk about Silverstone in the wet as though it was the only circuit that was ever rained on. I remember the Australian Grand Prix being stopped after 14 laps because the rain was so bad. I remember Spain when Michael Schumacher won in a torrential downpour, and Monaco. Spa is always wet, and last year, of course, the European Grand Prix, which was won so brilliantly by Johnny Herbert at the Nürburgring, had appalling weather conditions. So Silverstone is not alone.
De La Rosa went to 3rd place. You just saw before they cut away to Michael Schumacher. Very passively, very calmly in the car. 22 minutes to go. That's an absolute age in a qualifying session. But look, once again, Alesi having to literally throw the Prost into a corner. That really does look evil, that car, from time to time. But Alesi never seems to give up. Yahoo on the side there. I think that just about sums it up when he heads into a corner.
Michael Schumacher is 16th and has 8 laps left. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is 14th and has 8 laps left. Villeneuve has 8 laps left and he's in 13th place. David Coulthard is only in 12th position and he's got 7 laps left. So there's a lot of action yet to come, with Barrichello sitting calmly with...
And Alesi running wide yet again into Vale. They've all got to give it a bit more of a breathing space on the brake pedal. Brake 3 or 4 meters earlier and a little bit less, because if you miss that first point of braking, you run wide and there's nothing you can do about it. It feels absolutely pathetic, but there's nothing you can do.
You can see, Martin, where the track is dry, where it's starting to be wet on the edges. How far dare you put your wheels onto the wetter bits in order to tighten your line?
Well, you've got to keep a sweeping line if you can, but you try and stay away, particularly from the curbs and any glossily painted line. And I'm sure Nigel will tell us all about that from an unfortunate incident he had in Monaco in the Lotus many years ago. It is incredible. You just drop a quarter of your tyre onto a damp part of the track or a damp curb, and you're pointing the wrong way down the racetrack.
David Coulthard is on it. 5/100ths of a second faster than Barrichello in the first sector.
But Villeneuve is behind him, some 0.6 of a second faster already. So Coulthard and Villeneuve, I think, about to populate the provisional front row of the grid, but Villeneuve really on it.
And I remind you that Honda have produced another evolution of their constantly changing new Grand Prix engine as they feel their way back into Formula One with an enormous amount of experience behind them, a lot of experience which Nigel Mansell helped them develop the car and that he benefited from. And Honda are gradually working their way back to the top. And Villeneuve has not only made the fastest first sector as David Coulthard comes through to complete the lap, but Villeneuve is faster than he has been in the second sector. But does David Coulthard? Yes, David Coulthard goes up into pole position on that 27.965 and is immediately displaced by Jacques Villeneuve on 27.876. So that is the 7th change at the top that we've had. There's 20 minutes to go, and I remind you, you are looking at the world champion of 1997. He didn't have a good Williams in 1998, Jacques Villeneuve. He had a terrible BAR in 1999. But we've always known that if he got the machinery and the engine, he'd lost none of his talent and none of his sheer will to win. He's demonstrating it now. Jacques Villeneuve is faster now than he was on the previous lap as he comes up behind David Coulthard, who is on his in lap.
Yes, Coulthard at 28.5 in the first section. Not sure he's on an in lap necessarily, but Villeneuve, as you say, on a 28. Yes, Coulthard is slowing his knee, but Villeneuve really hooked up on this treacherous track in terms of there's a bit of an emulsion out there. It's not wet, it's not dry, and that is sometimes the most difficult to read circuit.
And watch Michael Schumacher. This is his quick lap. He's done his out lap, which was his 6th lap. He's now on his 7th lap. Here is... Oh, and now we have a look at David Coulthard, who's faster in the first sector, fastest of all in the second sector. Is he retaking that pole position? Yes, indeed he is. 27.874. David Coulthard, the 8th change at the top.
And Villeneuve's pitted, so I thought Villeneuve might snatch that provisional pole straight back again, as on the last lap. But Villeneuve, I see, cruising down the pit lane, so Coulthard maintains provisional pole. But that is not fast enough to be on pole.
Michael Schumacher only 1/10 of a second off David Coulthard in the first sector. His second sector time, which he's just about to complete, is going to indicate how quickly he's going on this lap. And he's fastest of all. Fastest of all. Nigel, is he going to do it? No answer.
Here wondering is whether McLaren's going to run the ace, because they might let Mika out just to do 8 laps at a time at the end. They might not do 2 runs and he might just stay out. Mick and Michael now is committed to 2 runs.
Good thinking, good thinking. And Michael Schumacher, pole position, but there are 17 minutes to go. 27.3. That is a cracking 6/10 of a second. 6/10 of a second faster than David Coulthard.
The problem with doing a lot of laps, and I think you may well be right there, Nigel, it's a balance. Will he get more tyre temperature? Will he understand the circuit better? But it's for every 10 kilos of fuel that you're carrying around this circuit, it costs you 4/10 of a second per lap. So if Häkkinen is starting a long run, his car is a little fat at the moment. It's a penalty he may be prepared to pay, to be on the track with hot tyres and total knowledge, intimate knowledge of where the grip is right at the end of the session. But still 16 odd minutes to go. I still feel he'll come in and have a final run.
Well, he's been very quick on this lap, and very quick indeed he is. Pole position, he's just beaten Michael Schumacher with that lap of 27.209, and that is 9/100ths of a second faster than the German in the Ferrari. As Heinz-Harald Frentzen goes for it in the Jordan, he's down in 18th place at the present moment. He's had 2 very good sectors compared with his own previous fastest times, and he goes into 3rd position. 16 minutes to go. Häkkinen is fastest, Schumacher is second, so it's a McLaren and a Ferrari on the front row. Frentzen and Coulthard, that is to say a Jordan and a McLaren. The 5th row is Jacques Villeneuve and Eddie Irvine, who in the Jaguar is 1 second off the pace. That is good. His fastest starting position so far, unless I'm very much mistaken, was 7th place on the grid. And as I say that, Fisichella goes into 7th position in the Benetton. 15.5 minutes for the qualifying session at Silverstone for tomorrow's British Grand Prix. And Mika Häkkinen is improving by 2/100ths of a second with the last sector to go. It's getting very, very close.
Ralf Schumacher's up into 4th place in the Williams, and you're now watching Häkkinen come over the line. He's lost some time in the middle section, so is he coming in the pit lane? Yes, indeed he is. So he is going to regroup for a final effort.
4 laps. He's done Olivier Panis sitting there next to Norbert Haug. Olivier Panis, the Monaco Grand Prix winner from the past, with Ligier, as it then was, Prost now, and he's now McLaren's test driver. Not bad, is it, to have a double world champion as one of your drivers, a 6 times Grand Prix winner, David Coulthard, as your other driver, and a Grand Prix winner as your test driver, Olivier Panis. Into the pits comes Heinz Harald Frentzen from 3rd place, and he has got 4 laps to go as Johnny Herbert goes through in the Jaguar Cosworth.
Into 7th. Herbert up to 7th place, finally getting some lappery in. Johnny Herbert in the action, slightly ahead and almost matching the time, but slightly faster than Irvine in the 2nd Jaguar, down in 8th position.
And I think all of Britain will be on their knees praying for Johnny Herbert. Such a super bloke, 3 times a Grand Prix winner, but he's had a lot of bad luck all through his career, and especially this year with Jaguar. And the evil tongues were starting to talk about him being replaced when he really does need a good result. He's got the ability. Has he got the machinery? Well, at the present moment, he's in 7th place, as Martin has just said, ahead of Irvine, and Ralf Schumacher there is 4th.
Ralf will have been disappointed when he crossed the line there and looked at his computer to see he was slightly slower than the lap before. I think in these conditions, you really would expect to build your lap, lap by lap, and improve. And here we are on board with Johnny Herbert. It's 29.5 in the first section, so he's lost quite a lot of time. He'll still be, even if he's coming in the pits, which I suspect he is, he'll still be pushing hard, trying to learn everything he can. As I said earlier on, you want intimate knowledge with this racetrack and where to go and where not to go, and exactly where can I get on the throttle pedal. But I think you'll find him hugging a tight line here and coming into the pit lane. Yes, he does indeed. Now look, let's see if we can see the white line for the speed limit. It's quite, there it is, 50 k's through qualifying. Be 80 k's tomorrow, 50 miles an hour in the race, and that's how slow it looks from a driver's eye view and from an outside view as Herbert trundles down the pit lane.
Remember what I was saying about Jenson Button being 2nd? Well, now with exactly the same time, to show you how much the track has improved as it dries out with the sun shining on it, he's now down in 13th position, 2 seconds off the pace, and it was just a few tenths when he was in 2nd place. This is his teammate Ralf Schumacher coming into the pit lane in the Williams BMW. He won't be unhappy with 4th position on the grid. Only Heinz Harald Frentzen, his brother Michael Schumacher, and Mika Häkkinen in a provisional pole position ahead of him with 12.25 minutes to go.
I'd imagine they're taking some wing out of the back of Michael Schumacher's car, reducing the downforce, giving him a bit more straight line speed. He doesn't now need the car pressing into the ground to get through any standing water as he did earlier on in the day. They're also making a mechanical change down there, which could well be stiffening the rear of the car. Now he's got more lateral grip from the tyres. James, any ideas?
Yeah, well, looking at Michael Schumacher's just completely changed the rear wing element totally. He's adding a load more rear wing. Absolute pandemonium down in the Ferrari garage. From the moment he arrived, they just descended on the car, started adjusting everything. They've been doing that, you can see it, I know, but they've been doing that for about 3 or 4 minutes. It's becoming progressively less frantic. Meanwhile, up at the McLaren garage at the moment, Häkkinen sitting there very calmly. Exactly as you said, Martin, he's got complete intimate knowledge now of the way this place is drying out. And, well, it's 1:45 now. And the weather hasn't come yet, but Häkkinen looks like he's ready for another run, I think.
Yes, yeah, when you say a load more rear wing, I'm surprised at that, James, but take your word for it. But you have to not just count the elements, but check the chord and the angle of attack on them and all that sort of thing. They're set up as a package, and I would be surprised if Michael is crowding more wing on than he had in the very wet conditions. Maybe he took a lot off before qualifying started with the dry track and went too far, but without going down there and really inspecting it and without having some technical information on it, it's quite difficult sometimes to just look at a wing. Even Patrick Head says, I cannot look at another car after 25 years of doing this and say, yes, that's a lot of downforce, or yes, that works. The aerodynamic packages on these cars are a bit of voodoo from the outside without the data.
Well, now, 1 second is the time it takes to say 1,000. and Michael Schumacher is 1/10 of that time slower than Mika Häkkinen. So Michael Schumacher has not got to do a great deal in terms of time to get his first pole position of the year, but that 1/100th of that 1/10 of a second is a heck of a lot of time in Formula One when it's at the front of the grid and when the man who's ahead of you is Mika Häkkinen. So let's look down and do a lap of Silverstone. Tell us all about it.
Mrs. Villeneuve, who I think is the hot ticket today, he's really doing a good job, and Cox, tremendous corner. You can't see it on the way in, and it's so narrow on the exit. That's the one the drivers most talk about amongst themselves. Beckett's, this is a frightener, but providing you can get it slowed down for the left. The right is relatively easy. You have to be a bit patient and not clump the curb on the inside, and then easily flat out, then down Hanger Straight. Diagonally at the shortest route. Be on the left. At the end, you can see the line the cars have been taking. At 195 miles an hour now, and brake gently, and this is a tremendous first section from Villeneuve. And through the long Stowe corner. Now don't brake too late. You've done it a couple of times this afternoon, Jack. Neat and tidy look. Yes, the curb on the inside rattles your teeth, and you have to wait now before you can get on the throttle. Then when you can find grip, no problem at all, right through the outside of club and using some curb. Again, diagonal straight, this time to the right, and brake. You must be in a straight line before you start downshifting, braking into Abbey chicane, and then tremendous traction. Goes downhill slightly now, bridge. Grit your teeth a little bit and stay inside because you need to be immediately on the right, ready for this left of Priory. Squirt on the throttle, incredible acceleration, and then down for the slow Luffield. And again now, it just presses you into the back of the car before you brake once again, but not so hard this time for Luffield. Coming onto the pit straight, over the grid hatchings, and it's a wonderful feeling as the car accelerates up to top gear over the speed line, and you're on provisional pole position.
Yeah, and Jacques Villeneuve's last pole position was at Jerez in 1997, 3 years ago, or getting on for 3 years ago, when he was in the Williams. That was his World Championship year, and boy, will this be getting the tails of... That's Jock Clear, who is Jacques Villeneuve's engineer, looking like a really wet week, but he must be very pleased indeed as he talks to Jacques Villeneuve. They're tremendously competitive. The two of them work very closely together. Jacques Villeneuve from Canada and Jock Clear, his race engineer. And this is a cracking lap. It's nearly 0.2 of a second faster than Mika Häkkinen. Something different at the front of Formula One.
Well, Jacques got a bit of a problem now. He's done 9 laps, so 10 when he comes in this time around. Doesn't leave him enough time to enough laps to go in and come back out again, so I'm assuming he's just hovering really, ready for another go, and he may have shot his bolt a touch early, but he will also be thinking, like I was thinking a couple of minutes ago, let's get a few boxes of tissues out and up in the press room, because all the drivers are going to be saying, oh, on my best lap I got held up in the traffic because 7 minutes to go. Everybody has got at least 4 laps to go without remaining, with the exception of Villeneuve, and some of them have 5 laps remaining. So we're going to have 22 cars on the racetrack, all trying to do the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, when this session started, Ralf Schumacher was fastest, then Frentzen, then Mika Häkkinen, then Rubens Barrichello, David Coulthard, Villeneuve, then David Coulthard again. Michael Schumacher was the 9th fastest man. Then Mika Häkkinen again. Now Jacques Villeneuve is the 11th different man, 9th different man, the 11th time that the man at the top of the listings has changed. And it's Jacques Villeneuve with 6.5 minutes left to go. And for heaven's sake, don't leave the room, because this last 5 minutes of the qualifying session, with the sun shining, casting shadows from the cars on a drying track, is going to be mustard. Jacques Villeneuve, 0.184 seconds faster in provisional pole position than 24 times pole position holder Mika Häkkinen. Michael Schumacher, 23 times a pole position holder, is 3rd.
Now, Villeneuve still registered as 9 laps. I don't know where the sensor is when they come down the pit lane. I thought it was normally adjacent to the start-finish line. So Villeneuve, at the moment, according to the screen, does still have enough laps left to do 1 flying lap. But it's a bit of a curious strategy there. I think they've shortchanged him a little bit on that one. They've not left him enough laps at the end of the session. There's Button just going out. Jenson Button down in 13th place. He has 5 laps remaining, so 3 flying laps available now for Button. And I think he's got the speed around here to pop this car somewhere in the top 10.
That would be a wonderful achievement for the young 20-year-old Englishman who's created such a media impact this season on his introduction to Formula One.
Now you could go out now and say, right, let's get to the front of the pack we know is going to arrive on the track. But if you go a fraction too early, then as you start your flying lap, they're all on their out laps, and hopefully that's not going to happen to Jensen. But it's a serious possibility with just 5 minutes to go that they could, Jensen could find some traffic just taking to the racetrack. But at the moment, a nice clear track ahead of him as he builds up speed, gets some brake temperature, bit of tyre temperature, lets all the pressures and everything settle down, and braces himself for, I would say, probably the most important day of his racing career so far.
Yeah, and paradoxically, the fastest time of the day is likely to have been put up when the 60-minute session has been completed, because if you cross the line on your last lap before the checkered flag goes out, you can count the lap that you're about to start. So you can cross the line at 59 minutes and 59 seconds, and the lap that you're starting will count. So I don't expect to be telling you who is in pole position for sure until 1 minute past the hour. Time will tell whether I'm right or not. Let's concentrate for the moment on what we see in front of us, with Jacques Villeneuve fastest, Mika Häkkinen second, Michael Schumacher third, Heinz-Harald Frentzen fourth, Ralf Schumacher fifth, David Coulthard in sixth position, just under 4 minutes to go. 1 BAR, 2 McLarens, 2 Ferraris, 1 Jordan in the top 6.
I don't understand why we've not seen the McLarens, for example, on the racetrack at the moment. Coulthard is out now. He's got 4 laps left to go, so he's got an out lap. Takes him about 1:30 to get round, and then, of course, he's got 2 flying laps left. So I think they're leaving it extremely late. Certainly Häkkinen is not going to get all of his available laps in now.
Well, we could have a real surprise. Jarno Trulli has completed his out lap, is on his 10th and final run. 10th lap, and he's put the fastest third sector of all up as you look at Pedro Diniz in the Sauber.
Häkkinen is now on track, and Michael Schumacher yes, he's now gone through the first sector. So now all the main players, all the top runners, with the exception of Jacques Villeneuve, are on the racetrack.
Are you still there? It's all coming up. 2 minutes and 50 seconds left for somebody to get ahead of Jacques Villeneuve and take pole position for tomorrow's British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Pedro Diniz crosses the line. He's in 8th position. Johnny Herbert is still in the top 10. 1 place ahead of his teammate Eddie Irvine. Both the Jaguars in the top 10. Jarno Trulli is on a tremendously fast lap at the present moment.
And that's Button, I think, making space for himself. He clearly has caught some traffic. So Jenson Button's first effort, unfortunately, spoiled by that traffic. Heidfeld goes up into 6th in the Prost. And we've got Jarno Trulli on another very, very fast lap.
Yes, indeed, second. Jarno Trulli goes second, 1/10 of a second slower than Villeneuve. 2 minutes to go. Villeneuve fastest, Trulli second. We could have a really surprising grid unless things change. There is Jarno Trulli in the Jordan Mugen Honda, and he is 1/10 of a second as we now ride with his teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen from Germany, who's 5th fastest in the Jordan. Just look at the speed. Watch him clip the apex. There is Johnny.
It's Irvine.
It's Eddie Irvine, I apologise. Eddie Irvine in 13th position. And he's on a flyer. He is on a flyer. He's fastest. He's fastest. Eddie Irvine goes fastest, 2/10 of a second quicker than anybody else in the Jaguar, with under 1.5 minutes to go. What a magnificently timed lap. And Verstappen is quickest. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Jos Verstappen fastest in the arrows. What about Villeneuve? What about Häkkinen?
Well, Villeneuve's back out on track. Villeneuve, remember, just has 1 flying lap left because of his strategy earlier on, so he's really compromised himself. Frentzen about to go over the line. Coulthard on a quick lap too, so where does Frentzen go? He goes fastest on a 25.7, and the fastest player in the field at the moment is Coulthard, who's just got to come through the final sector. I can see him looking at Button goes up to second, as you say. Coulthard comes over the line now and goes second.
Oh, listen to this. 30 seconds to go. Jenson is fastest, Coulthard is second, Button is third, Verstappen is fourth, Irvine is fifth. 2 British drivers in the top 5. Jacques Villeneuve, who is fastest, is down to 6th position, and Michael Schumacher is going for it, faster than he's been before in the first sector. 0.5 of a second off the pace, and that could put him in about 4th position, unless he does an absolutely sensational last sector.
Yes, but look, Murray, he's coming over the line. He's got 7, 6, 5. Barrichello's on provisional for 3, 2, 1. Did he make it over the line? Yes, I think Michael Schumacher just by about a half a second made it over the line to start that final lap.
Barrichello is fastest, you're right, Martin. This could be the one. This could be the 61st minute lap that I was telling you about. Look at it. We could have Ferraris first and second on the grid, because Barrichello is quickest with Michael Schumacher that you're looking at on his last lap now. Barrichello is quickest, Frentzen is second, Coulthard is third, Michael Schumacher is fourth. 5th is Button. Fabulous, fabulous lap by Jenson Button.
And Michael Schumacher's had a problem in the first section, so whether he made it over the line or not, I don't know. It was very touch and go, but Schumacher very slow, so he will not start above 4th position. Coulthard is 3rd. Jenson Button is still 5th. Ralf Schumacher pops it up into 6th place. Verstappen stopped out on the track somewhere in 7th. Irvine down to 8th already. Villeneuve 9th. Didn't get that lap in. And now it's Häkkinen on the move. Mika Häkkinen is on a quick lap. He's had a very, very fast middle section. So Barrichello, I think, he's had a problem in the middle somewhere. So now it's down to Mika Häkkinen. Where is Mika Häkkinen? He's in the final sector. Here he comes now through Woodcote. Häkkinen over the line. Does he take pole position?
No!
3rd.
No! Listen, listen. Rubens Barrichello from Brazil, from Sao Paulo, driving for Ferrari, starts the 4th Grand Prix for the Maranello team in pole position for tomorrow's British Grand Prix. Alongside him on the front row of the grid is going to be the Jordan of Heinz-Harald Frentzen that you are looking at there. Mika Häkkinen 3rd on the grid. This is the first time this year that Mika Häkkinen has not been in pole position, never mind the front row of the grid. David Coulthard, his teammate, is in 4th position, and Michael Schumacher is in 5th place on the 3rd row of the grid, sharing it with Jenson Megastar here, Button. Magnificent. The 2 Ferrari drivers congratulate each other on pole position and on 5th position. I wonder if Michael's brother Ralph will be congratulating Jenson Button on his 6th position, because again, for the 2nd time in 4 races, Ralf Schumacher has been out-qualified by Jenson Button. Well, I said it was going to be a terrific qualifying session, and that is exactly what it has proved to be as the weather got better and better. So once more, Rubens Barrichello is in pole position for Ferrari for the grid tomorrow. You can see the rest of them there. So it is Ferrari, Jordan, McLaren, Ferrari, Williams, Arrows. Fine drive by Jos Verstappen. The Jaguar of Eddie Irvine is 9th, and the BAR of Jacques Villeneuve, that was in provisional pole position until about a couple of minutes before, he is starting down in 10th position. What a turnaround, and look at a euphoric Rubens Barrichello.
I'm not sure he realised when he first got out of the car he was on pole position. As he was sort of looking around, it was almost, well, what's going on? But Villeneuve really, he's back down in 10th, as you're saying, and he really did. I think that's why we saw Jock Clear out in the pit lane and one talking. They really, I think probably Jacques stayed out 1 lap too many and messed up that strategy completely. And did he pay the price down there in 10th? But we didn't see Jenson Button's lap. But as you said, 2 out of 4 times he's out-qualified Ralf Schumacher. Now, nobody expected that, I'm sure.
Well, I did a presentation thing up at Thornton in Cheshire a couple of days ago with Rubens Barrichello there, who absolutely wowed the crowd with his charming personality. He's a lovely bloke. He richly deserves the drive, and he richly deserves where he is. Pole position for tomorrow.
Thanks very much indeed to Murray and to Martin as well. A fantastic session we have seen there, and it stayed dry. Nigel, your comments on that?
Just brilliant. Brilliant session. Got very excited watching it. I mean, Murray and Martin did a marvellous job. I mean, but what can you say? I mean, Rubens, fantastic for Ferrari. But I mean, McLaren, I mean, they're very strong, and Michael's behind them. So it's going to be a good, tough race tomorrow.
That's the first Ferrari on pole since you back in 1990.
I'm very pleased for him.
It's a bit like a home track for Rubens, this, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but he's done a cracking job. He's settled into the Ferrari team very quickly, and they'll be very happy with that performance.
Jolly good. We can go straight to Louise Goodman, who's talking now to Jenson Button.
Jenson, Murray's just described you as Jenson megastar Button. Does it feel that way to you?
I think it needed to be done, actually. I've had a pretty terrible day so far today. My mistake in the first practice session this morning, I threw it off the circuit, which didn't help matters. Lucky enough it dried out today due to I didn't get any wet running, and it's good to be inside the top 6, first time inside the top 6, and hopefully we can do the same in the race.
All down to those last closing minutes of the session. A bit frantic for you?
Oh, definitely. The team planned it excellently for the end of the session. We knew it was going to be very, very difficult to do a time the last few minutes, but we were able to, and I'd like to say thanks to the team for doing a good job.
You're going to enjoy yourself on that grid tomorrow, aren't you?
Definitely, definitely. Just hope the crowd will be here tomorrow as well.
Well, let's hope you stay up there tomorrow as well. Well done, Jenson.
Thank you.
He's a very cool customer, Jenson Button, particularly bearing in mind he didn't get out on the circuit until half an hour had gone. Well, we've had a touch of Mansell mania here in the past. After what he's done there, and with the gates open tomorrow, stand by for a big war for Button.
Yeah, very composed, did a great job, because I mean he fell off, as he said, this morning, but he got the job done this afternoon, and that's exactly what he needed to do, and all credit to the Williams team and Jenson.
And the two McLarens, though, are poised on the second row there, Tony.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it is going to be a fascinating contest. But just going back to Jenson, he's alongside his hero,
yes,
you know,
Michael Schumacher,
and he's
right.
got to get that out of his brain. You know, that it's his first ever British Grand Prix, and he's not got to worry about it. I don't know how he's going to block it out.
I don't think he's going to worry about it at all. He's going to concentrate tomorrow on beating him off the grid. I mean, he's got youth on his side, and I tell you, he's got a lot of talent.
Just sum up for us when you come here as a Brit on Grand Prix Sunday to drive the British Grand Prix, and you're in good shape on the grid.
Yeah, the most important thing you've got to do is focus. You know, there's a lot of things that you've got to go through, and you've got to have a lot of eventualities covered. And the more you got covered, the more automatic it is, because if you have to think about something, it's already too late. So tomorrow, you know, everyone's got to focus at the front of the grid and try and get a good start. Because I say this, Michael Schumacher won the race at Imola on the start. If he would have dropped back on the start, he wouldn't have won that race. That's why his car got very wide off the start.
Thanks to you both, and we'll be right back in a couple of minutes' time. We've had a terrific qualifying session for the British Grand Prix, and Rubens Barrichello, the Brazilian, has ended up on pole. Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Jordan right up there alongside him, then the McLarens, and look at that, Jenson Button alongside his hero Michael Schumacher on row 3, Eddie Irvine down in 9th, and Johnny Herbert is 14th. Terrific effort though, I'm very much on home ground for the Jordans and Heinz-Harald, who we spoke to before the start.
Yeah, I mean, Heinz-Harald Frentzen was talking about this race because they've done so much testing here in every condition. He said, we've had all 4 seasons in one day here. They were talking about yesterday, and they just went around avoiding the puddles. But it is their backyard. They know the place, every inch of it. So does Heinz-Harald Frentzen. But they have been battling against gearbox problems, which caused retirements in the last couple of races. Hopefully they've gone on top of that. The race is a different matter, of course, the pressure's on the gearbox there. And also he's a new dad. 150th race for Jordan. A lot of the fans here, Eddie Jordan brings all the staff over. They have a special grandstand. He was playing the drums last night at Stowe School. If they get the result, it'll be a big party, yeah.
Rubens Barrichello, I mean, he's got this thing with the Michael Schumacher shadow hanging over him. He had I think there were 13 different changes at the top of the grid today, put it on pole early and stayed there at the end. And it's good to see him there, particularly with the shadow of Schumacher over him, Nigel.
His job will be to get a great start, stay out there, and maybe even to slow the pace for Michael to sort of catch up. But fabulous job. But I have to say, what a marvellous job Frenson's done for Jordan. Very, very good home Grand Prix, and he should have a good crack at winning tomorrow too. What a marvellous lap that was, though, because it was early on. That's the thing. It's all a question of timing, and Rubens did it absolutely perfect.
We can hear from Rubens Barrichello, pole sitter here at Silverstone. Here he is chatting in the press conference.
Rubens, that must have been probably the most exciting qualifying session we've ever seen. I think about 20 different drivers had pole at one time, but you've ended up with it. How do you feel?
I feel very good. I must be honest that I enjoy this type of condition. I'm particularly proud because I think, you know, last week I've tested just on the only only 2 days in the wet, so I had no experience with this car on the dry, apart from the 2 laps that I had yesterday. But the team did a good job to give me a good car, and this track I know very well, so you know, I had no traffic, and I pushed to the very, very limit, which was good enough.
Indeed it was. Quick final thought about the British Grand
best
Prix.
race this year is coming up tomorrow, without a question.
That'll do for us.
McLaren in a good position to win back some points from Ferrari.
Okay, and of course we have extensive coverage throughout the weekend for you. ITV2 show tonight, and Tony Jardine presenting that. Be sure to watch out for that F1 theme night. And tomorrow we are with you from midday tomorrow. 8 o'clock ITV2, that theme night, midday. So Sterling Moss is going to be in Nigel's seat here in the studio. Highlights at 11:15. The race is off at 1 o'clock, and you can see that highlight show once again on ITV2 Easter Monday at 7 o'clock. Be sure then to make a date with us tomorrow at midday. David Coulthard won here last year. This fella, you've won this race, what, 4 times, isn't it?
4 times British, 1 European.
4 times, all right. Jensen's up there too. See you tomorrow, bye-bye.